Hello, everybody. It's Tuesday night. It's 7 o'clock, and we are live. Hello, everybody. It's Tuesday night. It's 7 o'clock, and we are live. Welcome to V Talks. I'm your host, Veronica Brockwell. Well, tonight we're going to celebrate the Portuguese culture, and I cannot think of a better guest to do that with this evening. She is an author of Azorian Cooking, From My Family Table to Yours. She is a television and podcast personality and the producer and host of the Emmy-nominated TV series on PBS called Maria's Portuguese Table. Please welcome to the V Talks the self-proclaimed AZOREAN GREENBEAN. And we are going to bring her on. Where did it go? Here we go. Maria Lawton, how are you?
Hello. How are you, Veronica?
I'm well. People know I should be wearing my glasses, and I couldn't see the little thing that said to bring you on. I almost kicked you from the broadcast.
Same.
I really did. I almost kicked you from the broadcast, and I was like, "Oh no, don't hit that button."
Yeah, I have to do the same. So if I'm going to be doing this, but yeah, it is what it is.
Well, we talked about this. We talked about this earlier. We want to wear our glasses, but what people don't understand is with all the lighting, there's a glare, and we're going to have reflection on our eyes, and it probably will be a little distracting.
Yeah, it'll all not make sense. So I will make that sacrifice. I will do that.
I know. Thank you, and welcome to the show.
Thanks for asking.
Oh my gosh, I'm so appreciative. I know how busy you are, so it is an honor and a treat. Please tell me where you are, because it looks very beautiful.
Well, of course, I am here in the United States, as a matter of fact, but behind me is a green screen of the area of Vila Franca in the island of São Miguel, which is one of 9 islands in the middle of the Atlantic, an archipelago of 9 islands. And this is where my family lived for centuries prior to going there from the mainland. But this is so anytime that my husband and my family and I go, we stay with family. Sometimes we stay off on our own. And when we stay off on our own, we usually either stay in Vila Franca, which has this beautiful inlet, this little inlet there, and or we stay in Furnas. Those are the 2 areas that I just adore and love. So,
and Maria, you were born there, right?
I was. I can trace my family back 8 generations on my mother's side, and it goes back to the area of Trás-os-Montes, which is behind the mountains, and which borders on Spain. And it is literally the beginning of Portugal is there. So Portugal's gastronomy, all of that, the history all began in that area. So it makes perfect sense. And from there, my family traveled down to Algarve. From Algarve, they split, and some of them went to Madeira. Some went to Brazil, and some went to Santa Maria, which is the first island that was inhabited. And then from Santa Maria, then they went to São Miguel, and where they stayed again for a few centuries, and then came here. Just my mother's side. So. Yeah.
So, Maria, can you tell our audience what was it like growing up in a Portuguese family? What do you think made it unique?
Okay. Well, I think I'm going to start by saying I think we have a lot of similarities with those that grew up in an Italian household, as well as in a Greek household.
Mhm.
And because there is a fine line between it all, it's all about family, it's all about food, it's
Mhm.
all about celebrating, and you celebrate with food, and wine. Well, yeah,
Gotta throw that in there.
we
Not
make
that I
our own
would
wine.
know.
I mean,
Not that I would know any of this.
me neither. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And what's funny is when I say this to people, they'll go, "Oh my God, but I've been drinking wine since I was little."
Right.
You were given a little cup with wine, and you would have that with dinner. And it, it was something where you would take it, and sometimes soups. There was certain soups that
Mhm.
my mom would make, and you would add a little bit of wine to it.
Yeah.
So it was no big deal for me as a teenager when everyone was sneaking around and trying to drink. I'd be like, why are you sneaking around? It's like this is no big deal.
Right.
So because again, I grew up in New Bedford, and for those that don't know New Bedford, it has a very high percentage of Portuguese people of Portuguese ancestry.
Mhm.
So it's a very high number. Fall River, I think, beats us, if I'm not mistaken, in
Okay.
numbers, because they consider Fall River the 10th island. Um, yeah.
Yeah. They
So
certainly do.
yeah. So growing up in a Portuguese household, there was never any quiet moments. Everything was always, oh my goodness, it was always so busy. There were so many things to always do, and everything revolved around the church that we were
Oh,
part of. So there were all the festas that would happen, and the dinners
and
that would happen, and
the Virgin Mary.
oh,
Goodness.
all saints above. So it
All
was
saints.
all saints above.
Grandma praying on her rosaries.
You got it. You
Yeah.
got it. And as
Yeah.
someone who went to parochial schools,
Mm.
we can go down a road we do not want to go down.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
was, yeah, it was a lot of, the church was number one with
Sure.
the way that our weekends would go, and all the parties and the festas that would happen.
Mhm.
But it was all really a beautiful way to grow up, for me. I find it was very beautiful. I was very lucky. My parents had a home, and it was a three family,
Of
and
course.
of course,
Of course.
because in New Bedford, for those again who've never been here, or Fall River, you had a lot of factories, and so they had a lot of three families built because you had to have people who are working in factories have a place to live. So there is a lot of that. So the first floor was my parents and my siblings,
Mhm.
myself and my siblings. The second floor was my maternal grandparents, and on the third floor was my maternal my aunt and uncle. So it was all family, and so it was a type of thing where I grew up with my grandparents and my parents and my grandparents, and my parents were very proud of where they come from. So we were
Mhm.
we were raised to be very proud of who we are, and where we come from, and never to forget where we come from. And that was very important for them. And I haven't. I always make sure that I there is no doubt in my mind where I come from, how proud I am from what roots I have.
Mhm.
And so, of course, saying that, I was the first one in my family to marry someone who's not Portuguese.
How'd that go?
Really well,
Oh,
really
good.
well.
Good, good.
He's English Irish,
Uh-huh.
and my family is convinced that he is Portuguese, because I think he could be more Portuguese than some Portuguese. It's like he loves everything about it,
Uh-huh.
which is really sweet. So yeah, but I grew up with the history behind it.
Mhm.
My grandfather read every history book you can think of. And so I always remember him with a book in his hand.
Mhm.
And he would say, well, there you go. See, the Portuguese did this, and we are the best at that. And this is how, so, being young and hearing that constantly, there's just like no question about it. The Portuguese are just the most amazing people. So, how lucky am I to be Portuguese? That was how I was raised. When I say to somebody, I've been like this forever, this is the only way I remember being.
Sure.
Because this is how I was raised.
So you've titled yourself the Azorian green bean. Where did that come from?
Okay. So, and I know that the Portuguese were not the only ones who were picked on or made fun of, because I think it's your turn. Does that make sense? It's just your turn. Well, I know the Italians came in, they were discriminated. They were called all kinds of awful names. They were, whatever. The Irish, same thing. They were treated horribly. Just you name it, they had their fair share of it.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, even though the Portuguese have been here prior to World War One, I mean, there used to be a steamship that would go from the island of Fayal to Boston.
My people.
Yeah,
Those are my people.
Exactly.
Those are my people.
They would do that on a weekly basis, because
Sure.
they would be bringing people over. Some would stay, they would go back. We've been here for so long. We can even go further back to like the Revolutionary War. We've got Peter Francisco. He was out of Virginia, but here we had Portuguese that served with Washington. So
Sure.
we've been here for so long, but we assimilate very quickly. We assimilate. So
New Bedford was the richest city in the United States in the 1800s.
at one time it was.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Mhm.
And
it's the whaling capital of the world.
You got
before petroleum
Yep.
came into being. So
yeah. There's a lot of beautiful and rich history. So when we came here, we came in the 60s. And so the 60s, they had just had a Fayal had their volcano erupt. And so when that happened, President Kennedy was the president at the time, and he opened up the quotas, because there was quotas for immigration every year from different places. So they opened those quotas in the late 50s and 60s. And that is when we came in. We came in that time. And so when you get here, there was no bilingual program. There was no, there was none of that.
So you didn't speak English when you were 6?
No, I didn't.
Right.
No, I didn't. And at home, I had to speak only Portuguese. Because remember, I had to remember where I came from.
Sure.
So as a teenager, I fought that like heck. Because I wanted to just speak American. I do not want to speak, blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
But looking at it now, I'm very thankful for them doing that, because I can still speak in a second language. I am bilingual. So it's, so in that sense, I'm very lucky, even though I gave them so much grief. Oh my God, I gave them so much grief, but that's okay. They were fine. And, but no, so coming here, you'd be called greenhorn like everybody else. You'd be called greenhorn, okay, greenhorn, we get it. Haha. Okay, whatever. But then you'd be called, a fava bean. I'd be called, fava bean, or, pork and cheese, which is,
that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like all kinds of little things. And I'll have to be honest with you, and I've said this before.
Yeah.
Because I am so proud of who I am, I would literally stop whoever that was saying it to me, and I would say, yeah, you wish you were. Because
That's right.
how can I take that as a disparaging word against who I am
Yeah.
when I know how great the Portuguese are.
Right.
So once again, it's being young and going through that, but you were called all those names. So going now so many years after, and the reason why I wrote my book, and we can get straight to that, and that is,
That was my next question.
yeah, and it plays together, the reason why. And so I wrote my book because of loss.
Okay.
I lost in a very short period of time, within few years.
Yeah.
I lost my brother-in-law, who was like a brother to me, that I loved and
Sorry.
adored.
Yeah.
And then I lost my mom.
Yeah.
Then I lost my grandmother, which, oh my God, that woman was like, I adored her.
Yeah.
I lost her, and then I lost my dad.
Oh.
So it was a type of thing where when someone goes through loss, and I know you've lost your mom, which just not that long ago. And, and the whole thing is when that happens, you kind of like, you go numb.
Yeah.
And you go through all your stages of grief.
Yeah.
And people grieve differently. Everybody grieves differently.
Sure.
Some people are like, oh, snap out of it. You're going to be fine. Life goes on, blah, blah, blah. And when someone would say that to me, I would just hear it and let it go, because that's the way they grieve. Yeah. But not everybody grieves the same.
No.
So you have to kind of like go through it in your own way. And so it took me, like, every time I grieved someone that I loved and adored, by the time I would think I was coming up for air, I would lose someone else.
Yeah.
So this happened so much in that time that I was so mad. I was so mad at everything. Yeah. I was mad at the doctors. I was mad at the world. I was mad at everything.
Yeah.
And I couldn't cook Portuguese. I didn't want to. I was so mad. I was so mad. I was just so mad about everything. And then when I came up for air, finally, my final time of coming up for air, I turned to my husband and I said, oh my God, Bob, I've lost everyone. Like, I've lost everyone that means so much to me. And like, they're gone. Like, so when they're gone, it's not just their physical that's gone. It's all the other things that come from it when they're gone. So when my mom left, it wasn't just mourning her. It was also mourning not having those Sundays together anymore, because everything stopped. The things that she did stopped. Yeah. And so, the Christmases at their house, all of these things that, that was with them. Yeah. Stops. Yeah. And again, it took me a while, and I'm like, okay, I have 3 daughters. Yeah. Who I've always said to them, don't ever forget who you are. Remember, I know you're half English Irish, but the other half is Portuguese. So don't forget. And, the Portuguese overtakes every other DNA. So,
it's the truth. I'm half. So yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It is. Yeah, it doesn't. It's there.
It's the dominant gene. It's the dominant
totally.
Gene. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to step up here. And I'm like, okay, so now it started a little bit when my dad was still alive, and I would try to make some dishes for him that were like my mom's, and it wasn't even close. And when I was young, I did not cook with my mom. I was the youngest of three daughters.
Mhm.
My sisters were in the kitchen with her. They would take turns because it's a galley kitchen for those
Yeah.
that are third, three families. It's galley, small galley kitchens.
Mhm.
So I was the youngest, and I was shooed out. There was no room for me. So which is fine. I mean, at this point now in my life, it's fine.
Please don't say they said you couldn't cook.
Well, they
Did they say you couldn't cook?
well, what's funny is my two sisters cooked with my mom.
Mm.
They both hate cooking.
Yeah, right.
And I'm the one who loves to cook. But at
Yeah.
that age and that time and all that stuff, I got married. I did not cook Portuguese
Mm.
because my mom did. There was no need for me to learn and to cook with her because now at this point I'm married. She still makes it. My husband, who loves Italian food, that's his favorite. So I learned how to cook Italian.
Yeah.
I taught myself how to make pasta. I know how to make a mean sauce. I know how, it's like,
Yeah.
I know how to cook Italian. And even my Italian friends go, "Are you sure you're not Italian?" I'm like,
Mhm.
nope, I'm not. But so it was a type of thing where,
So cooking was how you were going to heal,
exactly.
basically.
And I
Sure.
had to cook, and I had to show my daughters how to do it.
To keep the
Because,
tradition of the
yes, because
family.
God forbid I go. This is how,
Mhm.
of course, at this point now in my life, at that time, it was like, oh my God, what if I go? And then they don't have anything. What am I going to do? They
So
need to know.
cooking essentially saved you
It did.
from
It really did.
going into possibly a depression.
Oh, absolutely. But
Sure.
what's in all of this stuff is that, yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to not mourn a loss.
Yeah.
And there is no time frame for mourning, is there? It isn't a year. It couldn't, for some people, it's a few months or whatever. Well, God bless you. But, there's some people who take years.
I think it rears its head
It
eventually.
rears its head.
You can stuff it down, but I think
Yeah.
it comes out
So
in other ways.
it does.
We're all different.
Absolutely. And that's very key. I need to make sure I say that over and
Mm.
over because,
Mhm.
we're not here forever. Not all our loved ones
Mhm.
are here forever.
No.
So for those that are hearing me right now,
Mhm.
and you still have your loved ones with you
Yeah.
that are here, God bless. Take that as a gift, a
Yeah.
huge gift.
Mm.
Sit down with them. Get your family stories.
Yeah.
Get that recipe that you've always loved when they made it because you reminded of, a wonderful food memory that you have, because when they're gone. This is it, you know?
So
Uh,
what are some of the meals that your family cooked that you remember growing up? Some
the thing that was the big thing for me was Sundays.
Okay.
And Sundays was almost like a dance, a coordinated dance.
Okay.
You would wake up in the morning, you'd get yourself all gussied up,
Yeah.
right? But the night before, my mom would have had already the meats all marinating and all the things prepped. The percolator coffee was going on. It's like all of these senses, all the smells all come back, right? And then when you come home, you get your finest linens and you set the table. You get your baskets ready with fresh bread. You make sure they're nicely covered so it doesn't get dried off.
Always
Then
bread.
always bread. And then you've got, my father going down to the basement getting wine that he made because
Right. Oh yeah. They made wine.
they made wine. He made
Yeah.
wine every year. Every year he had his own wine.
Did
And
your family can? Were
yeah,
like big
they
dinners?
made the peppers and
Yeah.
the pickling of onions, the
Mhm.
pickling so it's pickling and canning the fermenting the red peppers.
Yeah,
That
they always kept everything in the cellar.
always in the cellar.
In the
Always
cellar,
in the
and
cellar.
there was so much food in the cellar that was
Always,
sitting
always.
in
And
a
there was always
glass
two.
canning jar, right? Yeah,
Yes, yes.
yeah.
And there was always two freezers filled with,
Oh, yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
yes.
You will
So
never starve. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So with all that, it was roasts.
Okay.
It was roasts. So she would make the soup, she would make
Kale
these
soup?
roasts, um, depending on season.
Okay.
So
Right,
I
fair.
knew it was, even though when growing up or being in the Azores or in Portugal, you eat within season.
Mhm,
And coming here, they continued that.
mhm.
So in the springtime, it was watercress. It was the a very light kind of soup, and then it would progress to collard greens, turnip greens.
Oh,
It would be all of that. Then it would turn to carrot soups and
mhm.
pumpkin soups. It would kind of go along as the season, what was
Okay.
in season. So kale, and I have to say this other thing. When you go anywhere in Portugal, you're not getting kale. It's not kale.
Okay.
It's in it's in the kale family,
Alright.
but it's these large leaf collards. It's these huge leafed collards
Okay.
that when they came here,
Mhm.
all they could get their hands on was kale.
Okay.
So kale became a substitute for what was used back at home.
And can you get that collard here now?
There are some people who grow it in their garden. There are
Okay.
some Portuguese people I know who've been able to get seeds, which that's a big thing of not being able to transport
Yeah,
seeds.
you know they make that happen.
Yeah, but they make it happen. I
Yeah.
won't say who or how, but they do.
No, we
Yeah,
don't
no, no.
know.
And but that is it's in the kale family, like cabbage.
Interesting, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
And the soup would have the collards and cabbage. That's the soupa. That's what would be the soupa de curve. And so curve is collards. It's
So
the
you decide to write a book,
So yeah, so I decided to write a book because of my daughters. I wanted
and
to
a
write
lot of people talk about writing a book, but you actually did it.
well because I did
Yeah,
it. I did it thinking it was just going to be for my daughters, my
okay,
girls, and it was or and except and also my nieces and nephews
sure.
because I wanted them to also have this. So I went to my sisters
Mhm,
to get recipes that they cooked with my mom. I went to my aunt Lalia, who her my uncle John was my mom's baby brother. So they were friends and they would always like exchange recipes. So I got stuff from her, but there
mhm,
was so much that I was missing. And so I figured I'd have to go back to the source. And so since my dad's family, my dad was the only one who immigrated here. The rest of his family is still there. I decided, you know what, I'm going to go back and I'm going to bring with me a list of recipes that I'm missing that people don't have.
mhm.
And so that's what I did. I took a list of recipes and a notebook, and I cooked with my elderly aunts, my
Wow.
cousins. I spent almost a month there cooking kitchen to kitchen. And for those that are cooking with someone who's older and they say, pinch of this, like
I was gonna ask you, I'm sure everything's measured in the book.
it is, but I'm going to tell you how you need to do it.
Mhm.
When you're learning to cook from someone who says a pinch of this, a pinch of that. Oh, you look at it. It does it look, smell it. Does it take,
Yeah.
okay. You need to make sure before they put it in the pot, you have a bowl and they put it in the bowl first and you measure And that
Smart.
is the only way you're going to get it, because they're never going to say it's this, it's that. It's like, oh, I know it by sight. I know it by,
A
whatever.
little more.
A little more, yeah. And it's like the palm of your hand. Well, everybody has a different size palm.
Exactly.
Or use your a tjala, a small bowl. Well, we all have different size small bowls, so it has to be measured. And so that was the way that I figured it out. But
Okay.
when I wrote it all up, I had it all set. I had to put it together, and I had a friends of mine who Mallard Printing. They're out of Fall River, and so they had known what I was doing, and they said, you know what, we can print up a few books for you. And so I'm like, oh, that's great. So they did that, which, they were just amazing people, and Bob is great and Jeff is great. And they don't print up books. This was something they were doing as a favor to me because we're friends. So it was like, okay. And so I had print a few up, for family only. That was it. But then the people that were working there went, well, I want a copy. So printed up a little bit more, and they had the copies. And then their friends were like, I want a copy. And then it got into someone's hand. And the first place that wanted the book was Arthur Manise Gallery. And I got a call from Arthur Manise, who he has passed since, but him and Cheryl, and they're like, we want the books here. We're, from our ancestry, we want to have it here. And I'd be like, I don't have enough books. It's like, I only made it for family. So I printed up some more. And then the place in Westport, oh my goodness, Partners in Westport. Yeah. At the time, it's a different owner now. The person who was the owner there was like, I want the book. Yeah, I'd love to sell it.
So more and more people were picking it up, and you're thinking, okay, I'm on to something, right?
Yeah. And then what was crazy is the person who at that time ran Partners, they had a book section. They still do. And they had different editors coming in and different publishers coming in and whatever with their book. And this one publisher saw my book and said, I need to get a hold of her. And that was Union Park Press. And they were out of Boston, out of Cambridge, if I'm not mistaken. They have since gone out of business. So, but she took my book and kind of made it, how can I explain it? I never sold my rights to my book. I never want to. It's very special to me. And when you sell your rights to a book, they can change anything. It's their book.
Yeah, sure.
And so if you're okay with doing that with a book that you're writing and all that, and you're all right with that, then that's okay. For me, that was not possible. I could not get rid. It was too much. It was too much involved in it. There were too many emotions involved in it all. When I would write a recipe, it would be like I'm recreating a memory. And it was very heavy. I cried. It took me 4 years to write it. 4. Wow. And it was a very cathartic thing for me. And you're right. It absolutely is what I needed to do to kind of come out of it and come out of all the loss. So yeah, it just continued. It just continued, and it still does. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. So if you'd like to purchase the book, you can purchase it through your website, AZOREANGREENBEAN.com.
Yeah, I have a shop there where, somebody can buy it there if they want it, made out to someone special, or if they want to have it personalized, they can do that. If not, they can go on Amazon. It's available there. And it's also available in any place that sells books. The thing is it's been out for 10 years now.
Yeah.
So not every bookstore is going to carry it. But you can go to any bookstore and say, I'd like to have this book, and they can order it and get it in for you. So that's not a problem, because I have now a distributor. I have
Yeah.
it's on a whole other level of stuff.
So, Maria, here you are. You've got your cookbook. It's doing great. You're cooking, you're doing your thing. And now you decide, I'm going to do a travel show.
They didn't go that way.
I had a feeling it didn't go that way.
I have.
That's what I see, but you're going to tell me what really happened.
You know, I have a thing in life, and that is sometimes I just follow where it takes me. Does that make sense?
Sure. So you have your Madeira wine,
which is delicious, by the way. I can't wait for this weekend. But I so I have this book. I do book tours. I'm throughout the US, Canada. I'm going all over the place, and then I have people asking me to do book signings and book talks.
Sure.
And I'd be like, you want me to do a book talk? And they're like, oh yeah, we'd love to have you here. And and then from that book talk, someone else in the audience would go, I want you to talk in fill in the blank. So it was organizations and private clubs and blah blah blah. So I was doing that, and I was doing quite a lot of that prior to the pandemic even. But what happened was I had always, at the very end, everyone wants to know how to publish a book, how to do this, how to do that. And I think I've mentioned to you before, I'm an open book. You want to know? Yeah. I'll tell you. I have no problem. I think everyone needs to go on their own journey. And if I can help someone go along that way and make it a little easier, I'll do. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I all the time I would say, okay, I'm open for questions and answers at the very end. And every time I would do that, someone would raise their hand and they'd say, why isn't there a Portuguese cooking show on TV? And my answer was, right. So I would say, you're absolutely right. There should be. And I don't know why there isn't, because our food is amazing. We're so rich in history, our food based on the colonies that we had, whether it was in Goa or in Macau or, in Africa, in Brazil. I mean, we're talking about a huge colonies all over the place. And
which you're gonna get into in a little while, because I don't even think people remotely understand what you're gonna cover on with your show,
right. And so the whole thing is there is so much history in our food. So when you go to we have this chicken and rice dish called kanja. And you would have that for like very special occasions, like weddings, you would have that served. And it's a chicken soup, but it's not a chicken soup. It's a completely different kind of chicken soup. You temper eggs in it. There's lemon. There's this it is just out of this world. And it's a lot of work in that sense of a little bit more steps. So you hardly see it the way it's supposed to be made in restaurants. Usually it's homemade kind of around here. But, when you go to China, you can have congee. When you have vingadilles, which is wine and garlic. It's our marinade for so many different things and the spices that we use and all of that stuff.
You can't go wrong with that.
No. When you go to India, you're going to get vindaloo. Vindaloo is a take on vingadilles. So it is a type of thing that Portugal had a lot of discoveries. They sailed everywhere, and where they would go, they would take over. I mean, there's good history and there's bad history. they would go in, and at that time they would declare it being part of the empire.
Yeah.
And so when they did that, they also brought their customs, some of their foods to the area. So you can go to China, and in Macau, which now is all up for, casinos. That's the big thing in Macau, is casinos. But there is an area in Macau where they call the food Macanese, which is a fusion of Chinese food with Portuguese food. And they also speak Portuguese. So it's a really amazing history we have in food. So, and it's the same thing with the hot chili pepper. Well, we know that really the chili pepper came from the South America. But when they were in South America, they took that and planted it in different spots. So now you have Brazil, and they also have it in Mozambique, which is Angola, which is part of Africa. And so you've got a certain pepper that's there that's very important in all our meals, the peri peri kind of thing. And then in Goa, in India, the same thing. You have people that are that cook with Portuguese spices and traditions. They also, some of them speak even Portuguese. It's it just continues. Now they're no longer our colonies. Portuguese, Portugal has Portugal. It has Madeira as an autonomous region because they have their own government. And it's the same thing with the Azores. We have our own autonomous region. We have our own government, but we are part of, under the umbrella of Portugal. So, and that's it. That's it. So it went from being one of the biggest empires to being tiny, little tiny thing now. But our food is very rich in culture. And so I would say to them, you're absolutely right. There should be one on TV. And I said, and hopefully.
So how did that happen?
So one day, hopefully someone will be able to do that. That was my answer. And then I had someone approach me and say, have you ever gone to have you thought of PBS? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? They're like, well, Ciao Italia is the first and the oldest Italian cooking show on PBS. And she started, Marianne Esposito, she started on PBS Rhode Island. And she goes, I think you need to go to them. And I think you need to tell them, give them a hint of where they need to go, because Rhode Island has, in percentage wise, the highest percentage of Portuguese because it's a small state. Sure. So the highest percent of Portuguese is in Rhode Island.
Interesting.
The most Portuguese citizens or Portuguese descent is out in California. That is in numbers. Density and all that is here in the Southeast and all that. But so they need to, as PBS Rhode Island, you need to kind of address the high percentage of you have that are Portuguese, and you need to address that. Yeah. So perfect. I have no problem talking to anyone about Portugal or our food and who we are, right? So when you think about it now, you go, wow, okay. I really did. Okay.
That took a lot to have the courage to do that. That's amazing.
Well, what's
You're
like,
hey,
what's the worst? What's the worst anyone can ever say to you?
Exactly.
No,
right. But if you don't ask, you don't get.
You don't get. So, and as long as you know that no is the worst they can tell you, then you move on. Then it's not.
Or you try again later.
Right. So right. I call. I need to talk. I need to meet.
You're like, hey, Maria.
Okay, sure. Come on in.
All right.
And you can meet with so and so, and this is And I'm like, okay, how hard can it be? They said, yes, I'm going in, I'm talking. Okay. So, so I go in and I'm expecting to talk to this one lady, and now it's a table full of people.
Wow.
And so I'm like, oh, I have a cookbook. I do this every time I do a book talk. I have people saying, and I go through my whole thing, and with more conviction than I'm doing right now,
Of
but
course.
and that they should. I mean, I'm telling them what they should do.
And you're probably like slightly nervous. No.
No, if I can deal, no. You got to really go in deep to your
All
DNA.
right.
You
All
can't.
right.
As a 7 or 8-year-old that could speak English, but my parents could not, I
Oh.
had to speak for them.
So you were very confident.
I was very confident.
Awesome.
And when I would say what they wanted me to say, and I wasn't saying it with conviction that my mom did not tone in my voice, I had to say it like she was saying. So
Oh.
I was taught at a very young age to speak up.
Okay.
They created a monster. That's what they did.
No, they created a superstar.
So I told them, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. And I think the public in your area needs to have this. And of course, their broadband is parts of Connecticut, all of Rhode Island, and parts of Massachusetts down to the Cape. And
when, Maria, when was this?
Oh my God. We're looking at, wait, how long has it been?
Well, you're on season 2.
I'm going to season 2. Season 1 took a while because I had to, number one, find money, because it's always a thing.
Well, was it before COVID?
It was before COVID. Yes.
All right.
Yes. So what happened is they came back and said, yes, go ahead and do it.
Then they just you had to do like a pilot, or?
They needed a pilot. And so I had friends of mine, and I think everybody knows them as the Portuguese kids. And so I went to them and I went, they want me to do a pilot. How the heck do I do that? Because I knew that they were filming commercials and doing this and that. And they're like, oh, we can do it for you. We can do it with you. And I'm like, well, how do I pay you? And they're like, oh, just pay us by dinner. So they would film and I would feed them. That's how
I love it. What a great story.
They're just the sweetest.
I'm sure that's changed now, though.
Yes, it has. No,
I'm sure dinner's not enough anymore.
No. So at that time, it was like, they were up and coming. Also, they were just the sweetest thing. So they do it. I give them the pilot, and they go, we want 13 more. And I'm like, well, how am I going to do that? And so I contact the kids and they're like, oh, no, we can't do that. No. We're going to get you in touch with someone we know. And he's Portuguese descent. Okay. He's out in California. He's won several Emmys, blah, blah, blah. So, and he just so happens to be coming to see family in Taunton next week.
Oh, beautiful.
So it was like everything kind of.
Yeah, your mom and grandma, they were all around you. They were making it happen.
There is no doubt. No doubt in my mind. To this day.
I love it.
And they
so
still
beautiful.
Are. They still are. Yeah. Oh yeah. And so I sat down with Dean, and he said, first thing he said to me after that was, you can't afford me. Because I am, I've won 3 Emmys. I've done this. I've done that. Whatever. Fill in the blank. And I said, okay, well, and we kind of stopped discussing it. And I came home and said to Bob, I'm like, I don't know. I don't think it's going to, I don't know. We'll see. So then he goes home, and I guess he's still thinking about it. And so he reaches out to me and he says, okay, if you give me X number of money, I'll do it, but it's going to take a while because I need to get paid with other jobs. And I will do your thing as a side, like, as almost like, out of, he says, I want to do it for in honor of my mom. He says, for my mom. And I said, well, I want to do it for my mom. And so we agreed on a price, and I go to PBS and thinking, okay, they're going to give me money to do this. And they went, no, you have to find the money. And so this is the thing with working for PBS. You have
Well, it's a misconception too. All of this is, yeah.
It really is.
I'm glad you're talking about this, because I think people want to know.
This is not the Food Network.
Yeah.
The Food Network comes, they're backing up a truck of money. That is not PBS. There's a reason why they have fundraisers every year.
Sure.
There are so many of them that need that to just keep their lights on. So, so what you need to do is you need to find the money. You need to find everything to make it happen. And then when you're done with it, you hand it over to them. You give it to them, and then they air it.
Yeah, they do nothing except to prove it ahead of time.
Exactly.
So you know that it's worth investing in.
Correct.
Yeah.
So they need to make sure that the color is right, that the sound is right, that this is right, closed captions are in, blah, 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 blah. But that's it.
Yeah.
So okay.
you needed to raise money.
I needed to raise a certain amount for Dean. And of course, I didn't take any money because I just wanted to do this.
Sure.
And so I went to a few people thinking, okay, they're going to give me some kind of money. I got a lot of no's. I think it was at least 2 years of no's. 2 years of no's.
But then Eastern Bank stepped up.
Bay Coast.
Ooh,
Bay
sorry.
Coast. Bay Coast. So I had a friend of mine who said,
"Thank you, Bay Coast."
Oh, I love you, Bay Coast.
I know. I should have put that up. Sponsored
so
by Bay Coast Bank.
Yeah. And I went there. I met with, the marketing people and all that. And I also met the president of the bank, Nick Chris. And so I sit down and I start my thing of what I want to do. And so he stops me like 5 minutes into it. He stops it and he goes, "Maria, what do you need?" And I went,
"Oh, I love it."
And I went, "I need this to pay Dean to make it happen." And he goes, "Okay, you got it."
I love it.
And it was that fast. And he said, "This is a no-brainer, Maria. Why are people," he goes, "why didn't other people say yes?" And I said, "Nick, there's 2 years. I've gone for 2 years and everybody has said no because I'm the first one to do it. I had someone tell me that it should be a man doing it. You're not a professional chef. Why isn't a professional chef doing this?"
Sure.
Why? You name, fill in the blanks. I had that all thrown at me.
Of course.
And I had to go through, okay, I'm getting no's. What's the worst people can say to me? And I've said this before, is no. They're saying no. But after a year, that was like, oof, okay. Maybe I'm not supposed to do this. Maybe it's not meant to be, right? Because
I'm sure a lot of tears and frustration.
I didn't want to take it personally, but when your name is on there, you gotta take it a little personally.
Yeah.
And I can't change my sex. I am a woman. Yeah. I can't be who I'm not. I'm not a chef. I will never say I'm one. You go for many years to get that hat and that title. I will never call myself that. I am a good home cook. End of story. And so going through all that, I had to go and say next. So no meant next to me. I changed the word no to next because it only meant that person was not supposed to be part of it with me. They would never get it. And I wouldn't want them. That was the thing. That's what changed. That's what changed. No means next.
I love that.
You move on.
No means next.
No means next.
Mm.
Because you can't, I can live through no's. But if I'm going to say what I've always said, and that is, wherever I'm led, I'm going to go. And I always forward, never look back. That is a very Portuguese thing. And it's called sempre à frente, always forward, never back. You never look back. You never look at woulda, coulda, shoulda. You always look forward to the next step.
So you film, it goes, you have 13 episodes?
I only could afford 8.
You have 8, but you are now, you're in the process of filming season 2.
I am. But with all season 1, it was a slow start. It was just regional. It aired regionally.
Yeah.
When it aired regionally, it was crazy. The numbers were crazy. That everybody wanted to see it. Everybody wanted it. And people,
it's fabulous. It really
thank
is.
you.
It really, really is.
My followers.
I was binge watching.
I have the most amazing followers.
Mm-hmm.
I have the most amazing followers. So I have followers in every state of the United States and Canada and everywhere else. And I, throughout the world, and I have them and throughout the US calling their PBS station going, I want to watch Maria's Portuguese table. How come you don't have it? So that brought up a distributor for PBS, because they only work with a couple of distributors. Mm-hmm. And that distributor wanted to pick me up, which now I know that's really unheard of for a first season. Usually they pick up when you have 2 or 3 seasons.
Sure.
Who knew? I have no idea. I'm just going along. And so they picked it up, and it started they picked it up in 2019, the end of 2019. Mm-hmm. And then what happened in 2020?
Right. Pandemic.
So it aired and re-aired and aired and re-aired so many times throughout the US. Mm-hmm. It was crazy. My market share was incredible. Then I got an Emmy nominated. I got Emmy nominated.
Unbelievable.
I'm like, okay.
What a story.
Okay. Then I get, this year I get nominated for a Taste Award, which I'm like, I'm up against, which a Taste Award is like the Oscars for PBS. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I was in line in the same category with Lydia and Gordon Ramsay.
I really, it's unbelievable.
So
it's believable.
So I kept looking at it. I got the announcement, and I called my husband, and I'm like, this has got to be a typo. This has got to be a typo. I am not, because this doesn't make any sense. But in the long run, when I would call PBS Rhode Island, they'd go, yeah, it makes sense, because your ratings were just as good as theirs.
Right.
So and of course, Gordon won, which I absolutely understand that, because it's Gordon Ramsay.
Of course.
But when they named out the names of who was up for it, my name got called out at the same.
I know, list. the same breath.
And it still blows me away. And then I get a Telly Awards. Which, it's for like the best food and travel series in PBS for culture, and then another one for best TV show for travel and for food and travel, for food and beverage. And it's like, what the heck? So this is not anything that when I did it, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do these awards, and I'm gonna get this, and I'm gonna do that. That was far from anything. What I wanted to do is I wanted to, if I was going to do it, And I was only going to do it once because I'm thinking, okay, what's the chances of me doing it ever again? You know what I mean? So I'm going to do it one. I've got to do it in a way that I want people to understand, like where I come from. So I had to start with San Miguel because that is where I came from. I had to introduce people to the Azores, and I had to introduce it with that one island. And then I had to do Rhode Island, which has the highest percentage of
Sure.
Portuguese. And I had to go to California and film with the area that has the most Portuguese in the United States is out in California. But from one town to another is 5 or 6 hours. So it's like very spread apart, but the most people are there that are Portuguese descent.
So interesting.
I had to do that, and I had to do it in a way that it wasn't just food. It had to be, I had to throw in some history. I had to throw in about our culture. I had to throw in and food. So it was, and wine. And, it had to.
Are you going to Madeira by chance?
I will for season 3.
I think I need to go there. So what can we expect now? So now we need sponsors for season 3, right?
Of season 2 and season 3. I'm in the middle of season 2 right now. I just filmed. The good thing this time around is PBS has allowed me to have people sponsor and have it be tax deductible because it can go to PBS Rhode Island earmarked for Maria's Portuguese Table, and then it comes for me to do it, to make it.
So how would people do that if
they can reach out to me through my AZOREANGREENBEAN.com and reach out through there because there's a thing on reaching or reach out to Maria or talk to Maria, whatever.
And you'll give them instructions.
And I will give them instructions on how to. That's not a problem.
Okay.
And then, so I had a foundation give me money, which again, this is not first time around. I was not able to get nonprofit money because I'm not a nonprofit, but working with PBS Rhode Island now closely with them, I'm able to do that. So I had a foundation give me money, and I had Bay Coast Bank once again. They were first.
Shout out to Bay Coast.
I love Bay Coast.
That's right.
Because they said that money that they gave me for season 1 was the best money they could ever have, because it's been seen by millions, hundreds of millions.
I know. It's so amazing. So what can we expect from season 2?
Season 2, I had to do New England. So I filmed up in Boston.
Okay.
Because just a little tidbit, the Portuguese were in the North End before the Italians.
What?
Oh yeah.
What? I did not know this.
Yes. The oldest Italian church that's there was actually built by the Portuguese.
Of course I was.
Of course. So it's and even though I love going to the North End and I love doing everything Italian, I mean it's beautiful there.
Sure.
So, but there's a lot of Portuguese history in Boston. And so I had to do that. And had a family that we showcased up there that is incredible. It's like a beautiful story, and truly an American story of success, of coming here and making an incredible just incredible, beautiful story. And another gentleman who I can't give out too much. But it has to do with music. So and so it's we'll do that one. And then we went down to the Cape. And so in Truro, Eastham, Provincetown, we're talking about us being there. Oh my God. Like, again, the early 1900s. the late 1800s. I want to
Sure.
say 1800s, the late 1800s.
Mhm.
So we've been there for a very long time. And so we're talking about third, fourth, fifth generation.
Okay.
But let me tell you, they do not forget who they are.
Oh, see, that's awesome.
Never.
And then where are we going in the Azores?
We're going to the Middle Islands. So yesterday, was it yesterday? I kind of put it out there. I'm going to Fayal.
Yeah.
And
I get so excited.
I'm going to Terceira, of course,
Yeah.
because every island has something very unique about it.
That's where the military base is, right?
Yes. Very, very less now than it used to be, than it was. But they have this the Flemish settled there in Terceira, as well as Moorish Portuguese settled there. So there is a dish called the alcatra, which is cooked in clay pot, in the oven, low and slow. And it used to be like any cuts of meats. Now they do fish even in the alcatra. The thing is it's being cooked in that clay vessel. And it is very similar to the tangine. So it's our take on the Moorish dish, because they were there and they're the ones who started with that. We have a lot of different nationalities that settled in all of those islands. So we have Irish, we have English, we have the French, we have, the Germans, we have people from Holland. There is a real mix of stuff. So you're going to have people in Fayal and Terceira who are very tall. They're taller than all the other islands, and which is beautiful. And then you have, my grandfather, my dad's side of the family. My dad was the only one who had almost brown golden eyes. It was beautiful. He had the most beautiful eyes. But his father, my grandfather, my paternal grandfather, was blonde hair, blue eyed. Right. I have so many cousins of mine that are there that are blonde hair, blue eyed. So we talk about having that Celtic part of it.
Somewhere in my family, there was an English soldier. I think it was my because my mom
English and Portuguese is still the oldest to this day union of anybody throughout the world. Those two, and you're right. And the Germans, my dad's side of the family, they would say they're German. They had German ancestry, so they're all tall, blue-eyed, blonde hair. Gorgeous, gorgeous people. And then you had French. You had a lot of French that were there. You have an area in Portugal, in São Miguel, that's called Britannia, which they came from Brittany, France. And they came over and they went there. And it's and then they created their own little village. It's incredible. So I'm going to Fayal. I'm going to Terceira. I have to go to Pico because that's the wines.
Well, I was actually going to ask you about that. We talk about Madeira, but of course, that is not in the Azores. Where is that island that the best grape, best wine in Pico?
The best wines for the Azores come out of Pico. Now,
and what grapes are the best?
There is specific ones, and I will not butcher it right now. I will not.
Okay, but is it more white or red?
Red.
More red. Oh, and that's great.
They've been making wine again very long time, because I mean it's been 500 years.
They crushing the grapes but it's old school, right?
We can trace back Russian czars would demand Pico wine.
Really interesting.
Pico wine, the wines that they make out of there, the real good ones, collectors will have them before when they leave that island.
So they have wineries.
They do.
Okay.
But the things that they bottle, there's specific ones and stuff. It hardly anything makes it to the American market.
Sure.
Hardly anything.
So
It
you're doing an episode on Pico.
Oh, I have to.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
So
I
good.
feel like I need to.
Do you have a date inked when you're going to be there?
I do, but I'm not going to share it
Okay.
because one time I shared I was going to be somewhere,
Yeah.
and then I had no.
It didn't happen. A lot of people went.
Yeah. I don't know.
All right.
It's gonna be very organic. It's gonna be
Okay.
very organic. It's
All
gonna
right.
be very organic. But it's soon.
I'm taking a trip. I missed your trip.
What?
You have a on your website, you have
Yes.
a trip to
Yes.
San Miguel.
I do. And I have to change that because the thing was gone now. It was supposed to be if it's sold. I mean, it's sold in
It's
like
booked. It's booked.
it sold so fast.
Yeah.
Before the pandemic, I had for the year 2020, I had 3 sold out tours to San
Right.
Miguel.
So you go.
So we had to cancel all those. And
Okay.
then last year, I decided we were going to do one because I
Okay.
felt it was safe when we did it last October. And
Okay.
it was safe. We were in our own bubble. And at that time, everyone had to be vaccinated. We followed the protocols at that time. This time, there's no protocols. You don't even have to test now coming in, and you don't have to test coming out. So it's completely different now.
So is that one still happening?
This one is still happening this year.
Okay.
And that's, like I said, sold out. But in my website, I've got to change it so that people send let me know or send it directly to me saying they're interested, or even at that, just get my newsletter, because I'll announce it on my newsletter when I have another trip set up. Whatever happened to the link that you would go on a waiting list to AAA is no longer exists. I don't know what happened there. But,
those are amazing tours. I was reading about it.
Well, the thing is this happened again because of the show. And so people were calling PBS Rhode Island to say, I want to travel with her. And they had a travel club. So they contacted me and said, Maria, would you like to take people to San Miguel? And I'm thinking, I never thought of that before.
Sure. Right.
But sure. I get to show them the Azores and all as long as it's all my favorite things in it. It has to be something that I sign off on, because it can't just be a certain place or a certain restaurant or it's got to be what I like the best. So they said yes. They said, we'll do what you want to do. Okay. And there are some tours where you go and you just have breakfast and lunch, and then dinner you're on your own, or you're on your own for lunch, and then you have to. No, I said, I want all meals covered. That was the other thing. I want to immerse them with the right places, with all the meals. So I make sure that all the places that we go, they don't repeat the meals, so everybody could try something different all the time. So yeah, it's been, I had 30 people last year on the tour with me. And with the exception of 2 people, and they had only been there when they were in their teenagers.
So that's like a nice group size. It's not too big, but it's enough to.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, perfect.
And I got to introduce all of the 28 people who had never seen the island before. I got to introduce them to it. And at the end of it all, I said, the way that I did this is at the end, you don't need to go on another tour. You can come to San Miguel yourself, because I've taught you how to go to a grocery store, how to go here, how to do this, how to do that. So they know how to go and actually, know where to go and what to do. So it's, it was great. So this time around, it's again, the same thing. And then next year, I'm looking at a couple of different tours. We're still working on it. We'll see what happens there. But again, I always let my the people who are part of my my newsletter, they get first dibs. They know what's going on first before anybody else.
So
And
we sign up
and
on Azorian Green Bean, right? You go
yes,
on
yeah, yeah,
azoriangreenbean.com, you sign
that's
up for the newsletter, and you will be first to know
yeah,
everything,
everything. Uh,
including, and when you watch V Talks, you're first to know everything.
yes, that's right.
That's right.
So
We got a little scoop, with the Fayal, right?
that's right.
That was
So
pretty cool.
we're gonna Fayal,
Yeah.
Terceira,
Yep.
Pico, São
Yes.
Jorge.
I need to get some wine from Pico.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And São Jorge the cheese. I mean, I have to go.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing. We could talk all night, honestly.
Yes.
We've
Yes.
we've probably
Oh
we've
my
gone
God.
we went a little over.
Oh
We
my
went a
God. I'm
little
so
over.
sorry. I'm so
But
sorry.
no, don't apologize. This was wonderful. So I love your website. I love how you organized it by food category. Your recipes. It's just
Yes.
very easy. You've got
Thank
your recipes there. I love it. You can learn all about Maria. You can find links to her show, Maria's Portuguese Table,
Yep. Which is streaming.
which is streaming.
You can download the PBS app, whether you have Apple or Android or Roku or Apple TV, Fire Stick, blah, blah, blah. You just download it. It's free and you can stream it. So,
Yep. And then you can grab her cookbook. I highly recommend it. And embrace the Portuguese culture. I am so grateful to you for being on the show.
thank
It
you.
is
Thank you for having me.
it is a heart podcast
Thank you.
dedicated to my mom.
Oh,
And it's amazing. I think I told you before the show that since my mother passed away, I've been trying to tap in a little bit more to my Portuguese culture. Like my father, German, Irish, all of those things. But I've really tried to tap into the Portuguese side, and so many people have been in my life lately that, and I've got a whole bunch of new relatives that I didn't realize that I had, that I kind of stumbled upon it, so a lot of interesting things. So, I
well,
believe
I would
that,
say your mom is sending them your way.
yes, definitely. And you specifically, honestly, I was, it was kind of like you going to PBS. I'm like, well, I'll give it a try. She's kind of busy. And you were just so gracious. Sure. Great. Do it. I'm like, really?
I'm just.
I mean, this isn't an Emmy, but I was like, oh. To me, it was like an Emmy, right?
You're too kind. You're being too kind.
I was
Thank you.
really, honestly, super giddy. Yeah.
Oh.
All right, my friend. So
Thank you.
we're gonna get you some sponsors. So if you're out there and you want to help sponsor season 2 and season 3,
Yes.
reach out to Maria through the website and sponsor her, and let's continue to spread the word about the amazing Portuguese culture and Maria Lawton.
Thank you, honey. I appreciate it. Beijinhos.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in, and so grateful to our guest, Maria Lawton. Please, again, go to her website, AZOREANGreenBean.com, and you will find everything there, from her cookbook to her travel show to some amazing recipes. It's very easy to follow. Great website. Yeah. So have a good evening, and we'll see you soon. All righty. Bye.